and welcome back to a new video. Now hopefully if this goes well, this is going to be a new video series, but not one that you'll be seeing every week or every month. This is going to be a series that I'm hoping to do every 5 years, which seems weird to say now because I guess you don't know what happened in 5 years. But anyway, that, it seems like a long time now I think about it. Or should I? Yeah, every 5 years, because I can't do it every year. Anyway, we'll figure the things out, whether it's every year or every 5 years, in a moment. But basically this video is going to be my top 15 most watched movies in the past 5 years. So I know that in 5 years they will have changed, but whether or not in 2 years they might have completely changed. So I guess we'll just have to kind of see how it goes to know when to do another one of these, because I definitely think it'd be interesting to film this one and film another one, and the reason that I say that will become more apparent as I go through the films that I've got on this list, because I found quite a few of them on the year that they were released. I watched them a whole bunch, say 5 or 6 times, not a massive bunch, but 5 or 6 times, and then 2 years have gone by and I haven't watched them since. So it seems, due to release dates, it's not always the ones that I continue to watch throughout years to come. So that's why it's kind of interesting to then later on do another one and see the change. But without further ado, no need to talk about the new ones in the future. This is this video. I am really excited to do it. It'll kind of show some of my favourite films, but also some films that I find rewatchable, because like I say, some of these I haven't watched for a while. It's just at the time I watched them a lot. But yes, let's just get right into it. So we're starting off with number 15, which is the one the least watched, and then go to the most watched. So number 15 on this list is actually Beauty and the Beast, the original Disney classic Beauty and the Beast, with 3 watches. Now, that might seem kind of weird because I actually would think, this is why I've done it within 5 years, so we're going back to 2012. If I did a video like this of most watched movies of a lifetime, Beauty and the Beast might win. I'd say of the Disneys, it'd be Beauty and the Beast or The Lion King. Because obviously when I was younger, I'd rewatch those movies a bunch, and there's loads of movies that I've watched loads and loads and loads of times when I was younger that aren't on this list, just because I haven't really watched them that many times in the past 5 years. And I will say, there was a list probably, 20 movies plus that I've watched 3 times in the past 5 years. But I didn't put them all on this list because that would seem a bit silly. So what I did is I picked 2 movies that I've watched 3 times in the last 5 years that were probably the most watched prior to that, if that makes sense. But yeah, Beauty and the Beast is a fantastic film. I will continue to watch this in years to come. I wouldn't be surprised though if I did another one of these in a few years if Beauty and the Beast the live action would to be on this list. I haven't seen it yet, but I feel like that's a movie I could watch again and again just based off my love for the animated Beauty and the Beast. So yeah, I love Beauty and the Beast. I think it's fantastic. I will probably watch it, I say I probably watch it once a year, but obviously I haven't because this is the last 5 years. I watch it once every couple of years. I could happily watch it once a year though, I just need to remember to watch it. The next one on this list also has 3 watches, and again, like I said, there was a load that had 3 watches, but this is another one that I feel like I might have watched this more than Beauty and the Beast in my life, but I'm not entirely sure because I didn't see it until I was maybe, I don't know, 9, 10. And so when I was, 3, 4, 5, I would watch Beauty and the Beast a bunch. I could maybe watch it 3 times in a day. I don't know, I had like a VHS and you'd rewind it back, etc. Anyway, the next movie on the list is The Parrot Trap. This movie I know pretty much all the words to, and I actually find it harder to watch now because I know in my head the script. It's like I'm there saying it in my brain. It's kind of, I feel like I can't turn it off with that movie and I don't know why. Parrot Trap is one of my favourite movies. It would be on my top 10. I love it. The Lindsay Lohan one. I think it's just brilliant and it was one of my favourite movies growing up. I watched it honestly so many times I couldn't even count, I couldn't tell you. But in the past 5 years I've watched it 3 times, which is pretty good. I will watch it again soon. I will continue to watch it. It's just one of those movies that will continue to be watched. So yeah, The Parrot Trap is number 14. So coming in at number 13, you'll start to now notice a theme. A lot of these are new movies within the past 5 years. And number 13 is the movie that I watched the most that was released on DVD or Blu-ray in 2016. And that is The Intern, with 4 watches. Now, I'm surprised because the couple of years before I had movies that I'd watched way more times, which you'll see on the list later on. But yeah, The Intern was my most watched pickup of last year, which, you know, it's quite low down on the list really. I really enjoyed The Intern. I could watch it again today, happily. It's a movie that I could rewatch. These 4 watches that it got, I watched it pretty close together. That's kind of what I tend to do. If I find a movie that I really want to rewatch, I kind of rewatch it, and I watch it once and then again that week, say, and then 2 weeks later I watch it again, and then I can maybe watch it again, and then after a while it kind of fizzles out and I kind of let that die off. But having said that, The Intern definitely deserves more watches from me. Maybe if I now was as an avid rewatcher as I was a couple of years ago, that was really hard to say, it would have got more watches. Say this came out in 2014, I probably would imagine that I would have watched it more then. I don't rewatch as much now as I did a couple of years ago. Anyway, that's The Intern with 4 watches, and that was number 13. So number 12, where are we at now? We're on 5 watches now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies that have 5 watches. So I guess you could interchange these with order. I just put them in a random order. So the next one is The Fault in Our Stars. Again, when this movie came out, I watched it a bunch. Well, 5 times isn't really a bunch, but it felt like it. I maybe watched it like 3 times in 2 weeks, and then another time, you know. But those 5 times were all, no, I say that, 4 times were in the year that it came out, and then once was a year after that it came out. Again, I really think it's a fantastic film. I would watch it again. I just haven't watched it for a while. All of these, I could happily sit and have a mega, not even possible movie day and watch all of these. I really do love them. So if you haven't seen any of these, I do recommend them all. But yeah, The Fault in Our Stars has 5 watches. The next one on my list, one that surprised me. I thought that I'd watched it a few times. And if you don't know, I keep note of certain things, so that's how I knew which ones I'd watched a lot. And I thought that I'd seen this a few times, but I was so surprised to see I'd seen it that many times. And it is What We Did on Our Holiday. When this movie came out, I really loved it. And I obviously watched it a whole bunch, because I watched it 5 times, and I don't even barely remember watching it 5 times. I think within the first week I'd probably watched it 3 times, because I watched it, I showed it to my mum, I probably watched it again, I showed it to my friend. Yeah, this makes sense. And then I showed it to Josh as well. So yeah, 5 times does add up. But yeah, so I had seen that movie more than I thought I had, but it is a great movie, and I do want to watch it again soon. Like I say, a lot of these I haven't watched for a while, and I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to watch that. You know, I've only really watched it when it around-ish the time that it came out, and now I probably haven't watched it for a year, and so that's why I think in a few years this list will drastically change due to just what has come out more recently. Because, you know, you watch a bunch and then you might watch it again in a couple of years. That's kind of how I feel like I rewatch films. Okay, the next one on the list is actually one that is older, and it's one that I have seen many times, but in the past 5 years I would say I've seen it 5 times. If I haven't seen it 5 times, I've definitely seen it more. I definitely watch it at least once a year. I always watch it around New Year. If not, for the past 2 or 3 years I've watched it on New Year's Eve. But I always watch it around that time each year, but I might have at some point watched it again in a year, but I definitely know I've seen it 5 times, and that is, I've just realised I haven't even told you the movie. It is the Sex and the City movie, the first one, the original. I love it, I think it's brilliant. I just feel like, I don't know, I just really enjoy this movie. I like watching it every year, so again, you know, in future videos, this one would probably be on there, because it's one that I will continue to watch every year, and that I really love. And I love the characters. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. I watched the series you know, quite a few years ago, and then I just completely fell in love with this film, and I feel like it just, I don't know, it has all the niceness in it. I just love how long it is, and which is weird for me, it is quite a long film for what it is as well. It's quite long, it's got quite a lot in it. I like all the New Year themes and the Christmas. I just really enjoy it. I enjoy the second one as well, but nowhere near as much as the first one. So yeah, that also has 5 watches and I think that's one that is to stay in this list for a few years to come. The next one on the list is Dolphin Tale. Now, this actually came out on DVD in 2012, even though it was released in 2011. So I've watched Dolphin Tale 5 times in total, and I thought I would have watched it more. But it turns out I hadn't, so that's one that I thought I'd watched more than I had. And this is one that I love. I feel like it's really rewatchable. I feel like this one could stay on the list for a few years. I feel like it's been out for a while now, and I still continue to watch it. But I do feel that I didn't do the watch. I feel like I watched it once, and then maybe half a year later I watched it again, and then I maybe watched it 2 times, and then 1 time. I kind of feel like the watches were really spread out with this one, but I do definitely recommend Dolphin Tale. I really love it, and I could watch it today. That's probably, yeah, if I had to pick one, just trying to think now, really carefully. If I had to pick one, I think I'd watch Dolphin Tale today. That's the one I'd watch right now. I feel like it's an easy watch. It makes me smile, and I just want everybody to watch Dolphin Tale. So yes, 5 watches for Dolphin Tale. The next one also has 5 watches, and that is The Other Woman. This movie is fantastic. When it came out, I watched it a bunch. Actually, I don't know when it was released in the cinema, because it might have 6 watches, because I saw it in the cinema, and I've put down 5 watches for the DVD. So maybe I've watched it 6 times. I saw it in the cinema, really loved it, got the DVD, really loved it, watched it a bunch. My mum has watched this one a few times as well, so it's kind of rewatchable all around. And I love Cameron Diaz in this film. I feel like I want another film like this to come out. I feel like there hasn't been a film in this type that I've loved as much as this one since this one, basically. And I want more Cameron Diaz films like The Other Woman. I really do love it, and I feel like I could just watch it a whole bunch. Now we're moving on to films that I've watched 6 times. There's a couple of those as well. Now I have to just admit, halfway through making this list, I just had a realisation. I was looking through my little book, and I noticed next to this film I'm just about to mention that I'd watched it a whole bunch. Well, I watched it 6 times. And I was really surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, did I watch that film 6 times? And then, you know, I was carrying on looking, picking out the films, and I completely forgot to put this one on the list. And I'm already through the list, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh my god, I didn't put that on. I mean, I could have just not told you, but I think it's an interesting one, because I don't think it would remain on the list for long. And it is, so now there's 16, but anyway. And it is Alexandra and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Okay, when this movie came out, I was like, what? I love this. I watched it a bunch. Well, you know, I've watched it 6 times, but those 6 times were probably within a couple of months, maybe 2 months. And again, that doesn't seem that long, but I feel like it is. I feel like for this kind of film, it was a bit crazy. Like, I just was like, yeah, I'll watch this. And, you know, I think it's a fun, good family film, and I definitely want more films like that. I like films that I can rewatch. Some films are absolutely fantastic, and there's way better films than Alexandra and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. But that one is just rewatchable for me, and that's the kind of things that I look for in films a lot of the time, to be honest, is rewatchability. So there might be something that's incredible, like Interstellar, but I couldn't watch Interstellar all the time. I've seen it twice. I might watch it again, but it's fantastic. I give it 5 stars, but I wouldn't watch it as much as Alexandra and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. So yeah, let's carry on. Next one I've also watched 6 times, and it is Saving Mr. Banks. This movie, I love it. It's so good. I really did love this film when it came out, and I also watched it on a plane once, so that kind of gave another watch there. And I haven't watched it for a while. When did this come out? I'm not sure. Maybe 2013 or 2014. I don't know. It came out a couple of years ago, and yeah, this is one that I miss watching. I feel like I want to get back into watching this one a few times. And again, I feel like though it might fizzle out on the list, it's quite a long film. I kind of really went OTT when it came out on watching it over and over. So yeah, but Saving Mr. Banks is a really good film, and I really love it. Again, I'd like more films like that. I feel like lately, the past couple of years, I haven't had as many films that I've thought, yes, I love this, I want to watch this again and again. Like I say, The Intern was the only one from last year, that I have watched that up to that many times to be on the list, and it's only 4, so you can kind of see where I'm going with it. I feel like this video is a bit confusing. I actually feel like I'm getting confused. Let's move on to the next one with 6, and that is Frozen! Yay! Frozen is a good film. I watched it in the cinema and I enjoyed it. And then I watched it again, I enjoyed it a bit more, I liked the songs, I liked the characters. You know, people always bash on Frozen, I think, because it went way overhyped. But, you know what, I enjoyed it, I could watch it again. It's just one that, you know, you can watch quite a few times. And yeah, I watched it 6 times since it came out. I think that it must have come out in the past 5 years, yeah, it definitely did. But yes, that's Frozen. Now we are on 2 ones that I have watched 7 times, and there's only 2 of these. So the first one is St. Vincent. Now this movie is brilliant, and when it first came out I did really watch this a lot, and 7 times I feel like it's quite a lot. I would say that I would say 6 times that I watched it were in 2015 when the DVD came out, and 1 time was in 2016. That's what I would say. And I think if you can watch a movie that many times, this type of movie as well, it's a comedy movie, but it's not kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a weird one, I feel like, to rewatch that many times. But I would definitely recommend St. Vincent. So, yeah. The next one on the list is Catching Fire. I've watched this 7 times. Catching Fire is my favourite film of the Hunger Games series. It's also my favourite book of the Hunger Games series. I really, really love it. I think, yeah, I just think it's the best one of the bunch, and I feel like this is the one that for me is most rewatchable. The Hunger Games I watched quite a few times, but Catching Fire I was like, yes, I love this. I also again saw that one in the cinema actually, so whether or not that adds another one to it, so it might be 8, you know what, I obviously didn't compile this list very well, but you get the gist. These are just my top ones. I didn't really need to put how many times, but I feel like it becomes more exciting when we get into the top 3 now. But yeah, so Catching Fire 7 or 8 times. Okay, at number 3 we have Despicable Me. Now I believe Despicable Me came out in 2010, but I reckon I picked the DVD up in 2011. I didn't see it in the cinema. So then there's a year when it first came out, and then 2012. And I've put 11 times. I definitely think I've seen it more, and obviously there's a bit of a time before the 5 years. But I loved this movie when it came out. I literally thought it was the best thing ever. I watched this so many times. I remember the first time I watched it again the same day. I was like, yes, I love this. And that is something that I really crave in films, that desire to watch it again straight away. I really, really love that. And Despicable Me really, really did it, and I thought it was just brilliant. So Despicable Me is my number 3. Okay, so coming in at number 2, we have Tangled. Now, Tangled came out in 2011, but did the DVD? I think the DVD came out in 2012. Wait, I think I looked this up and now I forget. But I've put 18 times. However, now I'm thinking that the DVD came out, and again I saw it in the cinema twice. So yeah, 18 times I feel like is fair. Yes, I don't really need to look it up. Yes, so Tangled I loved. I again thought it was the best thing ever. I actually, the first time I saw it in the cinema, I enjoyed it enough, and then I was like, but then the second time I saw it in the cinema, I was like, yes, I want to watch this all the time. And I did. I watched it a whole bunch, and I haven't probably seen it for about 1.5 years now, or if not more, maybe 2 years. I haven't watched it for a while, but when it came out, I watched this a bunch. And then for a couple of years after, I'd watch it again, and I really, really loved it. So yeah, Tangled, I feel like will, then again, will it stay on the list if in 5 years it all refreshes? I don't know, we'll have to see. And finally, number 1, I feel like it should come to no surprise. And it is a film that came out in 2014 on Blu-ray and DVD. It might come out in 2013 in cinemas. I didn't see it in the cinemas. And I've watched this 20 times, and I put 20 plus, so I'm not sure how many, if I just gave up counting. I've got little ticks next to all the films. but, or maybe just sometimes I haven't even ticked it, but I've definitely watched it 20 times. And that's not really in the past 5 years, because it only came out in 2014. So, you know, in the past couple of years. And it is. And I'm sure you're all able to guess it, because I talk about it all the time, and I've always said I've rewatched it a bunch, and it is Annie, the new Annie. At first, I really did enjoy it. I wanted to watch it a bunch. I loved the songs, yada yada. And I gave it 4 stars, and then it started to creep up 4.5, and now I give it 5 stars. I just love it. It's such a guilty pleasure, but I really, really do love this film. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really, really do love it. I'm not saying it's my favourite film. It's not really by far my favourite film, but it is my most rewatched film in the past 5 years, and I think it would stay on the list. I think I will continue to rewatch this film for a while. I can rewatch this film a whole bunch, and you know, I've watched it within the past, you know, I've watched it this year, and it's just one that I kind of watched a whole bunch when it came out, but then it kind of continued to grow with its rewatches. So yeah, it is Annie. So those were my top 15 most rewatched films in the past 5 years. Maybe it was a little bit confusing, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below if you think, you know, what any of your top most rewatched films in the past 5 years are. I'd love to know. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!